What if I tell you that the true strength of marriage is built not on empty promises, but on support and respect from the entire community? The camera slowly glides over the ancient streets, shimmering in the sunlight, and slows down at the cozy town hall, where couples gather year after year to share stories of love. Faces flash by outside the library. Youth, the elderly, and children all together preparing for the celebration that brings back the sounds of laughter and heartfelt conversations about the joys and challenges of family life. The sun shines and the local market blooms in the central square, full of vibrant flowers and rosy fruits. We see a couple celebrating their anniversary in unison. She joyfully treats him to his favorite cookies, recalling the days when they first started dating. A reminder that in our town it's not only love that matters, but also the collective support that unites. Every year at the end of autumn, couples gather here to discuss their setbacks and joys, taking a step towards understanding each other. The light celebration comes to an end, and people are ready to share moments that sometimes remain in the shadows. Some found it difficult to cope with everyday life, while others experienced a crisis. But here, together with their neighbors, something wonderful happens. Strength emerges to move forward, rekindling their relationships. As it often happens, just by talking, they realize love is not an ideal, but a constant effort made up of little things and kind acts. It is in this intimate European town that the revival of outdated traditions occurs. This is a place where mutual assistance revitalizes marital bonds, and each new conversation becomes an opportunity to embark on a new path for themselves and their significant other. What will happen at the next meeting? Will new facets of the relationship hidden behind a good facade be revealed? Will they be able to embrace imperfection as the norm and understand that figuring themselves and their feelings out is the beginning of the journey to true happiness and stability? Join in, and let's explore these stories of love that come to life again and again, like in an old film, on the pages of life. What if I tell you that happiness and disappointment are on the same street? Why do some families celebrate silver and golden anniversaries while others can't get past a divorce lawsuit? These are not mere coincidences. They are questions we all ask ourselves in life one way or another. It's as if there are invisible threads connecting people and tearing them apart at the most unexpected moment. How can a family that seems perfect on the outside suddenly turn into a half-empty apartment filled only with memories? Or those who hold each other's hands despite all the trials? How do they do it? Is the secret to strong relationships found in what no one talks about? Let's figure it out together and try to find answers. What if I told you that there was a tradition in our town that you have never heard of? Every year at this time here in the town hall, married couples gathered to participate in the most unusual ritual: the Evening of Open Hearts. It was not just a celebration, it was a chance to look into your partner's eyes and open your soul. Just imagine, a cozy hall, candles, soft light, music gently filling the air, and in front of each couple, bowls with questions written on pieces of paper. Questions about hopes, fears, and dreams. That evening, everyone could ask a question they lacked the courage to ask in everyday life. What does happiness mean to you? Or what concerns you in our relationship? Some couples came here in despair but left holding hands, with a new understanding of love and trust. And what do you think was hidden behind the smiles of those who took the first step on this path? It was a real test, but also a chance to achieve mutual understanding and sometimes to save their relationship. The mystery of this tradition was that it concluded with a symbolic ritual. Each couple placed notes in a common box which was then passed on to the next generation. Are you ready to find out what happened to those recordings and what wisdom was left by those who came on that night. All these secrets have been kept in our town for centuries, and today I invite you to peek behind the curtain. Are you ready to realize that something that not so long ago was an integral part of our lives has almost vanished? A year ago, we gathered for meetings where laughter and conversation filled the space, and friendly bonds grew stronger with every word. But over time, we started to quiet down, and those moments began to fade away like morning fog. Imagine a cozy hall cloaked in soft light where old friends, whose friendship has stood the test of time, come together. Each brought a piece of themselves, joy, care, memories. But year by year, the number of those who attended these gatherings relentlessly decreased. At first, one person didn't come, then another. Each time, flattering words were exchanged about how important it is to stay connected, but once away from the computer, we repeatedly returned to our silence. This tradition, like a thread binding us, suddenly began to unravel. We felt that something important was slipping away. The social fabric that once wrapped us in warmth has now disintegrated. The feeling of loneliness has become familiar, while memories of joyful laughter and friendly conversations are an elusive ghost. What happened to this warmth of communication? Why, as we look at each other, can't we say, "Let's meet like we used to"? We started replacing warm gatherings with cold screens, substituting face-to-face communication with virtual messages, and some may say that it's okay. But is it? When we allow this tradition to fade away, don't we lose a part of ourselves? Every missed meeting is not just a missed gathering. It's a lost opportunity, and we should consider whether there is still a place in our hearts for friendship when its very essence disappears from our lives. What if I told you that life in our town could become brighter and richer just because of one tradition? Imagine laughter and joy echoing in our city again, and the streets filled with colors and music. This is exactly what a young couple thought about while sitting on a bench in the park. They looked at the dreary, empty squares where vibrant celebrations and folk festivities once took place. As if by magic, one of them had a thought. We once had such wonderful traditions. Why not bring them back? Looking at the rising sun, they were inspired by this idea and decided that action was needed right now. "Let's gather people, tell them about this," the guy suggested, his eyes lighting up with dreams. They imagined neighbors gathering at their house, starting to discuss how they could adapt the old rituals for our days. With every passing minute, their inspiration grew. They began to remember how their grandmother talked about ancient festivals where everyone would gather, dance, and talk to each other. These vivid memories filled their souls with warmth. Isn't this a monumental step towards restoring our spirit as a community? They pondered in their hearts. And what if just a couple of sincere people could spark a change? What if everyone who ever awaited meaningful changes were simply brothers and sisters ready to unite for a common goal? They began sharing their idea with friends. One by one, the faces of their friends lit up, eyes filled with hope and faith that change was not a myth. Like a snowball, the idea began to grow, causing a wave of support. And soon a stream of people ready to start a new life flowed from different corners of the city. "We can bring this back," they told each other, "together." And with this determination, pride in their hearts, they became the first initiators of changes that could transform their town back into a vibrant and friendly community where everyone could be heard and appreciated. Are you ready to learn what most people actually think about marriage? Cafes filled with sounds of conversation and laughter will bring us different views on traditions at once. At a table sit a couple of friends observing a loving couple exchanging tender glances. "Hey, did you hear that our acquaintances are getting married?" "Yeah, and so what? They just fell into the trap of traditions. Why do they need that?" Well, isn't it beautiful? That feeling, even in a free relationship, there's something special left. Tell me, should I really do it just because it's customary? In a market where people crowd around stalls with fruits, a young woman hides a smile while listening to two sellers. I'll tell you, a wedding is just an excuse to feed everyone with your pastries. Ha, I agree. And it will cost money. We return to another corner of the city, the library. Students discuss their future. After university, I wouldn't rush into marriage. Why? Isn't it a symbol of stability? That's just it. Sometimes it's like a nail in your foot that you hammer in yourself, or like a balloon that gets squeezed harder and harder. Meanwhile, they don't understand how other couples sit in cafes and smile at each other. How can you laugh when you know that sooner or later it will pull you down to the ground? Maybe that's the secret. The ability to enjoy oneself alternately with seriousness. Again, at the market, a woman dismisses a catastrophic picture. Maybe it's just a way to promote your business ideas. No, actually, it's just the desire to be part of something bigger. And back in the library, a student looks out the window. Everything I see outside the glass is so beautiful. But do I really need it? Or maybe it's the wedding that will make you see that this world has another side too. In every conversation, laughter and doubt, joy and anxiety intertwine, like threads in the fabric of life. All these discussions form a unique pattern of different opinions about marriage, like an ancient ritual passed down from generation to generation, or an incomprehensible trial that isn't taught in school. In life, there is no single answer, and everyone chooses their own path. What if I tell you that love in our town is fading every year? Fewer heart combinations, fewer weddings, more disappointments and divorces. The statistics speak for themselves. In the last 5 years, the number of marriages has decreased by 30%. 30% is not just a number. It represents fates, dreams, and hopes that vanish into the air like morning fog. Imagine, before we could see couples walking in the park every day, laughing children on the playgrounds, shared moments of happiness cherished in hearts. But where has it all gone? My friends, acquaintances, even neighbors are leaving their partners, and in their places only loneliness and confusion remain. The further we go, the fewer young people dare to start a family. They fear disappointments, fear wasting time and emotions, but what about those who still dream of true love? Are we taught to handle feelings and support each other? We need to ask ourselves these questions, as happiness seems not just an empty phrase. And when love begins to fade and trust retreats into the shadows, anxiety arises. What will our society be like in 10, 20 years? Will we be able to find the strength to unite again? Or will we remain alone, hiding our hearts behind masks of indifference? Let's unravel this distressing reality together before it's too late. What happens when we are afraid to be honest with those we love? Often we accumulate inner experiences, hiding them behind a mask of confidence and calm. The fear of being ridiculed for honesty holds us back, causing us to retreat into ourselves. Imagine you are living in a glass box. Everything looks perfect from the outside, but storms of emotions rage within you. Why is it so frightening to talk about our feelings? Every time the thought of being misunderstood stops you on your path to revelation, you catch yourself risking the loss of sincerity. All these internal conflicts turn into impenetrable walls, separating you from true closeness. Wouldn't it be easier to allow yourself to be vulnerable? In reality, this fear can destroy even the strongest connections. Do you remember how at the beginning of a relationship it seemed that nothing was more important than being honest with each other? But over time, like a shell, we begin to close up, attracting to ourselves this unbearable burden of secrets and unspoken words. Imagine sitting at a table and instead of sharing your anxiety, you just smile. You ask yourself, what will happen if I open up? Each time that choice takes a piece of you away. In a life full of unspoken words, it is so easy to lose yourself and your partner. Have you thought about what might happen if you take the first step towards honesty? Perhaps that very step will be the key to restoring lost sincerity. We often underestimate the power of an open heart. When we dare to risk and express our deepest feelings, we are not just shedding a burden, we are creating space for trust and understanding. So maybe it's time to move from fear to revelation? Why do we discuss family matters only with Google? Have you thought about it? In the digital age, we find ourselves in a strange situation. It's easier to ask a search engine about our parents than to talk to them directly. Once we gathered as a family around one table, sharing joys and sorrows, but now many of us prefer to tap our smartphones instead, leveraging a level of privacy that no brother or sister has yet achieved. Imagine your child seriously asking, "Mom, what is a grandfather?" And there you sit typing into the search engine, "What is a grandfather?" to find an answer online to a question they could easily ask your spouse. We have become such experts at seeking information that we forget about real communication. Have you ever noticed that your close circle can make you feel awkward? You talk about their lives with some outsider, but once it comes to family, everything depends on Google. It turns out algorithms know more about our relatives than we do. It's ironic and sad at the same time. Knowing every fact about movies and holidays, we forget how to properly engage in conversation with each other. What has happened to our interactions? Why is it easier for us to discuss life problems with a soulless screen than with a living person who will still be there after the conversation? If each of us recalls moments when communication was alive and sincere, we will realize that it's far more important than any search result online. We all need connection, yet we are doomed to turn to soulless machines. It's a contradiction, isn't it? What happens if we learn to accept imperfection? A married couple, grandmother Anna and grandfather Franz, sit on the terrace of their cozy cottage surrounded by greenery. They smile at each other, but in their eyes one can see so much. Understanding, love, and a certain humility from the years lived. "You know, Franz, it's been 50 years for us, and sometimes I feel like we're about to get divorced," Anna laughs. "What do you think is the reason we are still together?" "Because, Anna, we have learned to argue and then make up. It's not as easy as it seems. I remember how you yelled at me for not fixing the lantern in the yard," Franz starts, recalling one of their loudest conflicts. Grandmother purses her lips, but there are sparkles of laughter in her eyes. "Well, yes, and you spent all your time on your garden as if your tomatoes were more important than anything," Anna adds with a hint of mockery. "But it was during such times that our neighbors came to us. They came to help us in both bad and good days. Neighbor Maria, a true peacemaker, always knew how to smooth over rough edges. She helped grandmother Anna cook when they had disagreements. Can you imagine she once showed me how to bake pies?" Anna says, her eyes lighting up. "When we argued, I could get angry, but I immediately remembered that help, and it allowed me to calm down." Franz continues, "Sometimes we were mistaken, thinking our problems were insurmountable. But thanks to communicating with our neighbors, we understood that sharing our feelings is important. None of us are perfect." They get up and, holding hands, look at their garden. "This is not just our home, but a gem of the entire area. We have gone through difficulties together, felt each other's support." Thus returning us to the main thought, grandfather adds, "Nothing in our world is perfect, but that's where the beauty of life lies. Each step brings closer to understanding. Only together, Accepting each other's imperfections, can strong relationships be created. And in the future, I promise to keep an eye on the lantern, Franz concludes with a smile. And this simple truth about life, love, and the support of neighbors stays with them as well as with us. The value of collective experience helping us in dark times. What if I told you that in the past, weddings were not just an affair for two people, but for an entire neighborhood? All the neighbors would gather together, embracing each other, sharing joy and laughter, and sometimes even tears. Remember how it was. Everyone brought their dishes, each family tried to contribute something special, and suddenly the small courtyard would resonate with songs, dances, and jokes. These were moments when there were no barriers, when pain and joy were shared equally, and everyone became part of a collective celebration. We lived in a world where events were not just family-oriented, but communal. Each wedding became a gathering where neighbors essentially became family members. What a unique time it was when joys multiplied and sorrows were shared by everyone. But what is happening today? We witness important events increasingly taking place in silence and solitude. Weddings are turning into closed events, separated from the people with whom smiles were once shared. Nowadays, the fear of communication often overshadows the joys of unity. We hide our emotions and experiences, leaving conversations to exist only in virtual spaces. The question arises, what happened to those moments when the whole city would come together to celebrate life? Why have we lost that indescribable spirit of community today? Consider how little we know about the lives of our neighbors and what they carry in their hearts. The lack of engagement makes us lonely, even in the brightest moments. How can we regain that genuine joy that we once shared with those around us? This is an eternal question that invites us to delve into memories of what it means to live in the present, where everyone matters and every joy becomes part of a collective story. What if everything we know about our parents is actually just part of a bigger mystery? I've always felt uncomfortable asking my parents for advice. They are so different. It's as if they live in another reality where the rules they talk about don't quite work here and now. I remember trying to talk to them about my worries and dreams. In their eyes, I saw a lack of understanding, as if I were an alien from another planet. School, friends, hobbies, all of this might mean one thing, but they perceive it through the lens of their experiences, time, and beliefs. Sometimes it feels like we simply don't speak the same language. At times, I feel like I'm standing on the edge, with one side being the abyss of their expectations and the other my reality, filled with questions and doubts. Emotions overwhelm me. It seems impossible to bridge this gap. We all know that times have changed, but how difficult it is to explain this to those who seem never to have stepped into the future. Have they never felt just as lost? It seems that one complex task can weigh more than all their wisdom. I'm not expecting solutions from them. I just need the understanding that someone there in their world genuinely cares about what is happening to me right now. What if I tell you that maintaining relationships is not only our responsibility? Often we burden ourselves with guilt if something goes wrong. We try hard, we invest our soul, but what if there are others around us who also play an important role? Imagine this, a stranger in a store who sincerely smiled at you, and in that moment you felt warmth. Or a friend who called just to ask how you are. These little moments are support too. They remind us that relationships are not just about you and your partner, but about a whole network of people exchanging energy and emotions. And now, you start to wonder, if each of us contributes, can something truly beautiful be created? Or perhaps when one of us starts to try less, others also begin to pull away. Think about who else should support relationships besides ourselves. What if I told you that the first meeting could be the start of something amazing? The town hall buzzes quietly like a beehive. Various couples, each with their own story, are shyly looking around like little children in the first grade. A man with a rural accent brings in a tray of pies, and his face lights up with pride as if he has come to an awards ceremony. Nearby sits a couple in athletic wear, smiles on their faces, but their hands tremble as they take out their phones to keep themselves occupied during the wait. A girl with bright nails whispers to her companion about her plans, and he nods, his eyes full of genuine interest. Finally, an old man with a snowy white beard and slow-moving steps pulls out old photographs from his bag. "Look, this is our first vacation together." He proudly shows off a time-yellowed photo by the sea. Everyone turns towards him, and the air is filled with excitement. Suddenly, loud laughter erupts from the corner of the room. It's the school principal trying to tell a joke but getting out of breath from laughing. The atmosphere heats up and the awkwardness gradually dissolves in the cheerful noise. Everyone here carries their own burden, but in this place under one roof we all seem to have become one big family. We are all here with hope, with expectations, seeking support, understanding, the chance to change something in our lives. And while someone's baked goods provide warmth and jokes dispel fear, we realize that this is just the beginning. What if I told you that right now, you may have problems that you are not even aware of? Research shows that most relationship crises occur in absolute silence and isolation. Couples experiencing difficulties often choose silence, hiding their feelings and fears instead of sharing them with loved ones. This leads to misunderstanding and unspoken words growing like a snowball, turning life upside down. Imagine having someone by your side who shares your joys and worries. How much easier it would be to know there is someone supporting you, someone who won't let you drown in your own feelings. But we tend to close ourselves off in our inner world. The fear of being misunderstood or judged holds us back. As a result, we are left alone with our doubts and questions. Are you really ready to keep all this to yourself? It's not just a choice. It's a decision that can have irreversible consequences. Each of us can be the one to support a partner or a friend who opens the doors for dialogue. Only in this way can we bring back light and warmth into our relationships. Let's take a step towards involvement, and you will see how this will change your life. Are you ready to learn how moving can actually threaten your marriage? We all dream of a new life full of opportunities and adventures. But what happens when that dream becomes a reality? How many friendships can you leave behind when you start building your life from scratch in a new city, without familiar faces and support? Vitaly and Anna are a young couple who recently moved to another city in search of a better life. They believed that the move would bring only positive changes, career opportunities, fresh experiences, new acquaintances. But the reality turned out to be much more complicated than they had expected. From the first days, loneliness became their constant companion. Vitaly often worked late, and Anna, despite her attempts to make new friends, felt loneliness enveloping her more and more. For both of them, this was a shock. The people around them were busy with their own lives, and the absence of loved ones meant there was no one to share joys and worries with. Over time, small disagreements began to escalate into serious quarrels. One evening, when Anna was once again complaining about her nostalgia and lack of friends, Vitaly, tired of the constant arguments, snapped at her. "You chose this move yourself." These words pierced Anna like a knife. How easy it was to blame each other for lost hopes. What is a couple willing to endure as they try to cope with the internal demons that come with loneliness? It's a harsh situation, and many couples, as experience shows, face the same challenges. How does the connection between social support and marital well-being manifest in their story? The ways to cope with isolation and find common ground are all that could help them avoid losing each other in this maze. And here it's worth pondering. How can communication and friendships be the foundation for strong relationships? Reflect on this and decide what is more important to you. Seeking friends or strengthening your bond with each other? What if I asked you whether love can survive in a world where emptiness calls? Imagine it. A giant house seemingly forgotten by time, with only two souls wandering through the endless corridors of loneliness. Their voices are lost in silence. Each step echoes like a reminder that there are no lives, no vibrant moments around, only cold walls and forgotten dreams. Can a couple be happy if each day is a struggle against an invisible enemy that doesn't care how they feel? What do they do to break free from this silent captivity? Can even the strongest bond withstand the growing pressure of isolation? And if love drastically changes under the weight of this emptiness, where can hope be found? Ask yourself, is it possible to create warmth in such a cold world? Or will the longing for connection become yet another source of disappointment? In this vast house, the only answer may come from within. But is it really that easy? What if I tell you that your view of marriage could completely change? Many of us were raised with the idea that marriage is a union of two individual successes, gaining strength from personal achievements and ambitions. But what if it is actually a team where victories are achieved through teamwork? Let's think. Where do these myths of in buyer and I alone come from? We observe successful people emphasizing their independence, how important it is not to depend on a partner. But here's a question. Is individual success really as valuable in relationships as support and collaboration? Imagine that a happy couple working together towards shared goals can achieve much more than each separately. We often forget the power that arises when two people become one, when their dreams and goals intertwine, creating something greater than the sum of its parts. Recently, I learned the story of a couple who, instead of competing, decided to tackle things together. They started a small business, relying on their strengths and supporting each other in challenging times. Their relationship flourished as they began to work together and trust each other. While others struggled for individual achievements, they found a path to collective success. So what is really happening? Why do we continue to follow outdated beliefs that success should be individual? Perhaps it's time to rethink these views. Let's see marriage as an amazing game where each player contributes, supporting the other and together reaching heights they wouldn't even dream of alone. Let's open our eyes wider and fill our relationships with harmony based on collaboration rather than competition. What if I told you that the secret to long and happy relationships could be quite simple? In a world where many couples face difficulties, sociologists have come to an interesting conclusion. Regular meetings with other couples and shared meals can significantly reduce the risk of divorce. Yes, it's not just statistics. It's practical advice that can transform your relationship. Imagine you gather with friends, communicate, share experiences, laugh, and simply enjoy your time together. In those moments, you not only strengthen your friendships, but also create a stable support for your relationship. It's not just a fun pastime. It's a vital ritual that helps refresh your connection with your partner. Why does this work? When couples interact with others, they gain a new perspective on their relationship, learn from others' experiences, and eventually begin to understand that their own problems are not unique. This support becomes especially important in tough times when it's scary and lonely. Such meetings can remind you of the importance of understanding and support. Furthermore, regular activities with others help develop communication and problem-solving skills. During these gatherings, there is an exchange not only of experiences but also of emotions that enhance intimacy and trust. And so imagine how your shared meal with friends becomes not just a meeting, but a true ritual that strengthens your union. So why reject this wonderful opportunity? Start today. Gather your friends, invite them for dinner, and discover a new level of your relationship. Lay the foundation for a strong and lasting union that withstands all adversities. Do you know what it feels like to sense that the world is against you, yet have no one to talk to about it? Looking into each other's eyes, a pair of suited individuals begins with a smile. Silence, filled with unspoken words, descends upon the air. I never thought it would be so hard to just say that I feel lonely, the woman states with a wavering voice. Embarrassment mixes with anxiety and honesty appears in their eyes. The man beside her, usually confident, nods and adds, "Yeah, I've had the same thoughts. Deep down, I feel that opening up is scary because you don't know how the other will react." He pauses, rubbing his hands as if trying to hide his inner conflict. Each of them remembers moments when sharing their feelings seemed like something shameful. Is there a chance to be understood or supported? It's so strange. It seemed like I just needed to say it, the woman sighs. But the fear doesn't go away, the man replies, and there's a similar vulnerability in his voice. At that moment, they realize that connection begins with honesty towards each other, but the path to that is not so simple. Each word breaks free from the heart, and they both understand that true strength lies in vulnerability. Perhaps talking about their shortcomings is not a weakness, but a step towards liberation. I never thought my fears could be common, the man says, and hope is heard in his tone. The woman smiles, but deep inside, she realizes how fragile this trust is and how easily it can be lost. By the time they decide to take the next step and share their stories, fear is already starting to recede. But to achieve this, they had to overcome their own doubts and shame. What if I tell you a story that will change your perception of neighbors forever? Imagine this: an ordinary day, noisy neighbors, their conversations and laughter seeping through your windows. But what if there is something more behind this everyday hustle? Anna and Alex, a young couple, were on the brink. Domestic issues, misunderstandings, exhaustion, all of this led them to stop seeing each other. Every evening their apartment was filled with silence and tension hung in the air. They both felt lonely, even though they lived together. Then one day the neighbors, noticing their state, decided to intervene. They organized a small friendship evening, inviting the couple over for tea. At first, Anna and Alex were cautious, but as soon as they stepped into the neighbor's apartment, the atmosphere of warmth and sincerity enveloped them. Over cups of tea and treats, the neighbors opened their hearts. They shared their own stories about difficulties in relationships, about how important it is to support one another and communicate openly. It seemed that these simple words sparked a light in Anna and Alex's eyes. They remembered moments when they dreamed of being together, when each supported the other in tough times. That evening, the couple realized they were not alone, and help could come from the most unexpected corners. Inspired by the neighbors' sincerity, Anna and Alex began to communicate again. They started sharing their feelings, addressing issues rather than hiding from them. A few weeks later, they were hosting joint parties with the neighbors, working on their relationship and enjoying every moment together. What mattered was not that they were in a crisis, but that it was the support of their neighbors that helped them find their way back to each other. So perhaps your key to solving a problem is not where you think it is. Don't be afraid to seek support from the outside, in every helpful experience, in every open conversation. It could be the beginning of something amazing. What if you could discover new horizons over a cup of tea? In a cozy corner where laughter and conversation blend into one, Couples enjoy a friendly atmosphere. They exchange jokes as if they are the most valuable resource, understanding that it is here that the strongest bonds are formed. Masha laughs while sharing a story about how she confused sugar with salt in her childhood, resulting in a pie that was, to put it mildly, not very successful. In response, Ivan, shaking his head, shares his unsuccessful attempt to cook pasta for his first date. Everyone laughs, and in that moment the tension dissipates, leaving room for honest communication. Each person here is a treasure trove of unique stories. They exchange contacts as if passing pieces of their lives to each other. Anya jokes that she has so many business cards that it's time to start a collection. Alexander smiles and says that he hopes this won't be his last tea gathering with them, suggesting they meet next week. The agreement sounds like a melody filling the space. There is a feeling that this moment will last forever. Here, in a world of tea and laughter, everyone feels part of something greater. These connections, born in an informal setting, can change destinies, and no one wants to forget that. Cups are filled again, and the conversation flows like a river, carrying away all worries and prejudices. There is an air of anticipation for new meetings, as if each of them knows that something amazing awaits ahead. This is how a new chapter in their stories begins, full of mutual assistance, support, and friendship. Are you ready to learn the truth about imperfections in relationships? Each of us pursues an ideal, a successful career, beautiful travel, strong connections with people. We dream of romantic moments captured in photographs and happy families portrayed in social media profiles. But what if I told you that this pursuit of perfection often leads to disappointment and a sense of failure? Imagine a couple that seems flawless. They smile in every photo, share moments of happiness, and you, without realizing it, begin to compare your life to their perfect image. But behind the scenes, how many times have they argued? How many times has misunderstanding undermined their relationship? Why do we hide our flaws and pretend that we don't care? As one wise person said, perfection is the enemy of good. You may have faced pressure from those around you. After all, when everyone talks about happy relationships, how can you allow yourself to be imperfect? But it is in these imperfections that our true life lies. These are normal human experiences, arguments, misunderstandings, missteps. These moments bring us closer, make us real. Why do we perceive imperfection as failure? Sometimes this pursuit of perfection traps us in stereotypes and expectations. We forget that what matters is not the picture on Instagram, but the moments we share with others. Let's explore this philosophical question. What if accepting our imperfection not only frees us from pressure, but also allows us to truly enjoy life and relationships? What if I told you that old traditions can be the key to creating genuine connections between people? We live in a world where technology takes center stage, yet we sometimes forget that it is rituals that bring us together. Collective ceremonies and customs are not just a tribute to the past. They are powerful tools that can foster a supportive atmosphere in our society. Imagine a bustling office where everyone is busy with their tasks, all absorbed in their screens. What are the chances that someone will approach a colleague and ask, "How are you?" Often it is shared meals, celebrations, or simply traditional gatherings that can break down this barrier. Such moments unite us, create bonds, and strengthen team spirit. Remember how we come together during holidays or anniversaries, sharing joy and memories? These are not just celebrations, they are an opportunity to recall who we are and strengthen emotional ties. Both the events themselves and the rituals surrounding them are important. For example, every nation has its customs that are passed down through generations, becoming the foundation of identity. Consider another example. In difficult times when we face challenges, the support of friends and loved ones becomes critically important. Traditions such as gatherings before significant events or family parties can serve as a support system. These are moments when we come together and remember that we are not alone in our experiences. They help us cope with difficulties, create an atmosphere of trust and understanding. There are many examples of how collective actions, even the simplest ones, can change our perspective. In some countries, there is a widespread practice of joint tea gatherings, where people come together simply to talk, share thoughts, and support each other. It does not seem silly or outdated. It is a vital practice. So perhaps it is worth rethinking our preconceived notions about traditions. Maybe there is something more hidden within than just an old ritual. It is a way to create an atmosphere of support and unity, to restore valuable connections between people. Start noticing how shared traditions can improve your life, and perhaps you will see that this is not merely the past, but a part of our present and future. Are you ready to let the realization in that you are not alone in your problems? This is where the power that can change everything lies. Imagine you are sitting on the couch with your partner, and suddenly the conversation touches on painful topics: insecurities, fears, misunderstandings. At that moment, both of you feel that you are not alone. All those experiences that may have seemed unique to you suddenly become part of a shared experience. You are not alone. The people around you are the same. Faces flash on the screen telling their stories. They share their innermost feelings, and in every word you see reflections of your own experiences. Every laugh, every tear connects you, as if you are all sitting in one circle, passing warmth and support to each other. How many times have you thought that your life partner does not understand you? How many times have doubts tormented you, and you felt isolated in your sorrow? But as you listen to the stories of others, your fears seem to dissolve in the shared experience. This moment of catharsis, the moment when unity is felt sharply, you realize that everyone is fighting their own demons, and that in this competition you are all inevitably winners. By accepting this support, you find the strength to continue because you understand. There are people in the world who feel the same. This knowledge, this realization, it is liberating. The smile on your partner's face makes your shared burden lighter, and in your hearts, hope emerges that new opportunities lie ahead. It is time to leave behind the disconnect and accept that there is something greater than individual experiences. In this connection, in these joint efforts to heal, the true power lies. You are no longer alone, and this knowledge keeps you together. What will happen if you open yourself up to the world around you? One fine day, a couple living in a quiet neighborhood wondered how long it had been since they last interacted with their neighbors. Their life was filled with worries, work, and daily routines. But suddenly the thought came to them. What if they invited all their neighbors to a celebration? They took a step that became a harbinger of change. Initially, they felt excitement and even fear. What if the neighbors didn't come? What if they came and didn't like it? But they decided to go ahead. They bought decorations, prepared treats, and sent out invitations. On the day of the celebration, the neighbors gathered. Everyone brought something of their own. One brought homemade wine. Another brought a signature pie. At first everyone was cautious, but within a few minutes conversations and laughter began, along with unexpected revelations. Adults shared stories, children played in the yard, and the atmosphere of friendship and care enveloped everyone like a warm blanket. With each passing minute, the couple realized that they hadn't just spread their wings, but had also created a new connection with those around them. Communication, sincere hugs, and laughter helped them see their lives in a new light. Neighbors began to meet more frequently, helped each other in difficult times, and shared recipes and secrets. Their relationships with neighbors grew stronger, and along with them the bond in their own home solidified. They understood that openness is not just a word, but a whole world of possibilities. This celebration became not just a holiday, but the beginning of a new life where collectivity and unity led to the transformation of their everyday lives. In the end, is it worth fearing the unknown if true harmony may lie behind it? What if change is not only possible but also inevitable? Every year becomes the beginning of new stories, new connections, and unforgettable moments for many of us. Our tradition is not just an everyday occurrence. It is a way to unite families, generations, and dreams. Now even those who previously did not believe in the possibility of change are ready to take risks and enter new relationships. Imagine, one day, among loved ones, you share your hopes and fears and suddenly realize that those by your side are ready to support, inspire, and help you open up to the unknown. It is not just conversation. It is the opportunity to create a shared story that can change everything. We see how new couples, new faces, and new families become part of this amazing process. Every meeting is a chance to learn something new, to experience emotions that we had never even dreamed of before. Usually only one step separates us from opening our souls to others. Each of us has a few stories we have been waiting for, and right now they are becoming a reality. Change is possible, and it is happening right now. People come together because they understand that true happiness begins where fear ends. New connections, new beginnings, new plots. They do not just happen, they are created by us. Are you ready to take a step toward your new family, your new story? Go for it. The time for change has come. What if I told you that the secret to happiness in marriage lies not only in the love between two people, but also in the support of a whole community? Imagine how difficult it is to go through life's challenges alone. Each of us faces hardships, from financial problems to emotional crises. And what if all of this could be overcome together, leaning on the shoulders of friends, family, and community? Remember how neighbors gathered to help a young couple whose wedding was at risk of being canceled due to a lack of funds? Everyone brought something. Some brought food, some gifts, and some just provided support. This cohesion turned a difficult moment into a celebration, where everyone became part of something bigger. We often perceive marriage as something intimate and closed, where only two can influence each other's happiness. But what if the key to a strong union is involving the people around? Here's the story of a marriage that not only survived but thrived because of the collective efforts of the community. Every time the couple faced difficulties, they did not isolate themselves but turned to friends and family who came to help. Trouble had barely knocked on their door before the neighbors were already at the threshold with ready solutions. Can we learn to draw strength not only from our relationships but also from our connection with others? It's amazing how the efforts we direct toward those around us come back to us in our relationships. It's as if the world is suggesting, be a support to others and you too can become stronger. So what if the strongest marriage turns out to be a union not just of two but of an entire community? Think about this the next time you engage in a dialogue about love, support, and partnership. Perhaps that's where the answer to happiness in your relationships lies.